Russell Westbrook's new beginning in Denver stands as a testament to how drastically the media storylines can swing.
Could this be the end of Russ as we know him, Russ the superstar?
What did Russell Westbrook's performance tell us? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all.
Wait a minute.
It didn't work out well for him, excuse me, in LA. It didn't work out well for him with the Clippers, but he seemingly has found a home in Denver.
After years of being cast as an inefficient, outdated star, he's reinvented himself alongside Nikola Jokić, fueling the Nuggets with pace, hustle, and a renewed sense of purpose.
Are you at all surprised with your chemistry with Nikola Jokić? You guys look like you've been playing together your entire careers.
Man, he's the best player in the world. My job is to make the game easy for him.
But as the playoffs loom, one question remains. Will Westbrook's resurgence hold up under the brightest lights, or will the media be waiting for one misstep to tear him down again? Russell Westbrook's career began under a bright spotlight in Oklahoma City.
What a perfect ending to a historic day!
Where his explosive athleticism quickly made him a league-wide sensation. Reporters were enamored with his nightly triple-double threats, while fans applauded his fearless drives to the basket. In the aftermath of Kevin Durant's departure, Westbrook's 2017 MVP campaign had the media lauding him as the ultimate competitor who carried a franchise almost single-handedly.
2017 Kia NBA Most Valuable Player Award is Russell Westbrook.
He was hailed for his relentless motor, averaging a triple-double for the first time since Oscar Robertson, and talk shows couldn't get enough of the highlight reels. Yet underneath the admiration, criticism slowly started creeping in, especially regarding his shot selection and turnover rate. The conversation about stat padding gained traction. Analysts questioned whether Westbrook's brand of high-usage basketball helped or hindered his team's chances in crucial playoff matchups. Some publications took an all-or-nothing approach, either praising him as a whirlwind of passion or painting him as a black hole of inefficiency.
10.4 assists, 10.3 rebounds. James Harden still accounted for more points than Russell.
Ain't history. It's not history though.
So let me ask you a question. He made history, didn't win as many games.
Don't matter.
These swinging narratives became the norm for how the media handled his name. He was rarely portrayed with nuance. As time passed, the negative voices grew louder. ESPN segments and YouTube commentaries fixated on Westbrook's sub-30% three-point shooting, calling it a sign of the game evolving past him. Pundits wrote off his triple-doubles as inflated by chasing defensive rebounds. They argued that a championship-level team needed better spacing and fewer questionable mid-range attempts, branding Westbrook a relic who refused to adapt. Memes spread across social media anytime he bricked a perimeter shot or turned the ball over at a pivotal juncture. These moments often overshadowed the hustle and heart that endeared him to so many in the first place. By the time Westbrook left Oklahoma City, the narrative had tilted. The same media that cheered his MVP feats now questioned if he could ever truly help a team win. Comments about fitting in modern basketball drowned out discussions of his intangible leadership or his historically unmatched combination of scoring, rebounding, and assisting. The stage was set for the storyline that would follow him to every new city, a dynamic athlete in decline, shackled by outdated habits. Thus began the media's often contradictory stance on Westbrook as both unstoppable and unworkable, a paradox fueling endless debate. Quick announcement, our Hoop Hype store is now open. Make sure to check it out and purchase your favorite gear with the icon on the bottom left side of the screen or in the description below. Your support is appreciated, and let's get back to the video. Once he moved on from Oklahoma City, Westbrook's next destinations became chapters in a tumultuous saga. The Houston Rockets, teaming him with James Harden, sounded promising at first two MVPs combining forces. Initially, the media labeled it a scary backcourt, praising their mutual respect. But halfway into the season, questions arose about spacing. Harden was used to isolation sets and corner shooters, while Westbrook thrived driving through open lanes. Talk shows hammered them for lacking synergy, and soon, "they can't coexist" became the refrain on daily sports radio.
They don't want to play with each other anymore. Russell Westbrook doesn't want to play with James Harden. James Harden doesn't want to play with Russell Westbrook. He doesn't want to play off the ball as much. He looks at his success in Oklahoma City over the previous several years. The ball needs to be in his hands. That's his mentality.
The narrative narrative repeated in Washington, where Westbrook joined Bradley Beal on a roster few expected to contend. Westbrook performed well individually, logging yet another triple-double average, but the Wizards' record hovered around mediocrity. Analysts fixated on every misfired triple, reinforcing the notion that Westbrook's style undermined team success, ignoring the Wizards' underlying roster flaws. In these times, any positive coverage highlighting his leadership or scoring surges was overshadowed by critiques that he'd never adjust. Then came the Los Angeles Lakers. The hype was immense. Westbrook, teaming with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, formed a new big three. Yet from the outset, experts expressed concern about Westbrook's limited shooting and ball-dominant approach next to LeBron. Once the Lakers struggled, the media stormed in, branding Westbrook unplayable. Internet forums erupted in comedic Westbrook memes. Pundits replayed every ill-advised three or late-game turnover. Even longtime fans grew impatient. No storyline garnered more coverage than Westbrook's supposed downfall, placing near total blame on him for a flawed roster composition and injuries to key players. A brief cameo with the Clippers brought flickers of positivity. He had some standout games, especially when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were sidelined, reminding fans of his unstoppable drives. Yet once that short postseason run ended, the washed label returned in full force. Every move he made turned into content fodder for critics. If Westbrook occasionally posted a vintage 30-point triple-double, it was dismissed as an outlier. If he missed a contested three, the media hammered it as proof he was done. By the time free agency arrived again, the narrative was that Westbrook's best days were permanently behind him and that he could only be a minor bench piece in the modern NBA, if that. When rumors broke that Denver, fresh off losing some key rotational players, was interested in Russell Westbrook, the public reaction was mixed disbelief. Why would a cohesive, unselfish system anchored by Nikola Jokić, arguably the NBA's best passer, want a guard notorious for dominating possessions? The icing on the cake came from insiders claiming it was Jokić himself who nudged the Nuggets front office to sign Westbrook. Fans and media questioned whether Jokić had finally made a major miscalculation. Denver's roster had indeed lost a spark plug or two, individuals who thrived on the hustle and gritty defense. The idea circulated that Jokić recognized Westbrook's unstoppable energy could fill the void. In the half-court, Jokić orchestrates from the top of the key. In transition, though, Denver historically lacked consistent pace. Westbrook, with his go full throttle style, could theoretically bolster that aspect, but critics argued that Westbrook's questionable outside shot would cramp Jokic's spacing. The tension came from the media's long-held notion that Westbrook destroys spacing and steals usage from top-tier stars. After all, how many times had we heard he overshadowed star teammates Durant, Harden, and LeBron, leading to less than stellar playoff outcomes? Yet Jokić, unconcerned with typical star hierarchies, believed synergy might emerge. He had already proven his ability to adapt to different players' styles, so perhaps Westbrook's energetic approach could thrive if freed from the burden of leading a team alone. News of the signing set talk shows ablaze with predictions of imminent disaster. He's going to hog the ball. He can't shoot or defend well enough in a contender system. Jokić made a huge mistake. Even Denver-based media outlets approached the move with skepticism. People recalled Westbrook's short stints in LA, certain he'd be that same forced fit. Some fans, excited by the possibility of turning up the pace, were drowned out by critics who insisted Westbrook was a relic of the past. Behind the scenes, though, the stage was set for a potential transformation. Mike Malone, known for letting players play to their strengths, might craft a role that emphasized Westbrook's skills while limiting the possessions where his biggest weaknesses show. Combined with Jokic's unselfish passing, it created an environment that could amplify Westbrook's strengths in a way no other team had done recently. The only question was whether Westbrook would buy in and if the media would ever give him credit. Soon after landing in Denver, Russell Westbrook found a role that capitalized on his strengths without demanding he run the entire offense. With Nikola Jokić orchestrating from the high post, Westbrook often lurked along the baseline or perimeter, waiting for a moment to slash to the rim. That was a stark contrast to the Lakers' stint, where spacing was cramped and Westbrook occasionally stood idle, uncertain whether to shoot or pass. Now, purposeful cutting allowed him to catch defenders off guard and seize easy buckets off Jokic's passes. The fast break dimension also proved crucial. Westbrook's knack for gobbling up rebounds let him ignite transition plays the moment he secured the ball. Denver's coaching staff encouraged him to push the pace, a green light that suits him perfectly. With Jokic trailing and scanning for open teammates, Westbrook's relentless drives opened up corner shooters or led to powerful finishes. Observers noted how rarely Westbrook forced a contested mid-range pull-up. Instead, he'd pass it back to Jokic or swing it out if the defense collapsed. On defense, Westbrook looked rejuvenated. He pressured opposing guards early and channeled his storied intensity into forcing turnovers. The lack of effort or lack of focus criticisms that followed him in previous seasons didn't appear nearly as often. It's not that he became a lockdown defender, but Denver's system rewarded hustle. He rotated well, battling through screens, and used his quickness to jump passing lanes. Whenever he collected a steal, it typically blossomed into an instant transition basket, exactly the style Denver lacked after losing certain free agents. Statistically, he also saw improved efficiency. If a typical Westbrook season saw him at sub 44% from the field and sub 30% from three, the first month in Denver brought more selective shot attempts. He reined in deep jumpers, taking them mostly when wide open, and found consistent success around the basket. The drop in turnovers also signaled a calmer approach. It wasn't that Westbrook no longer made mistakes. Nobody expected perfection, but the ratio of good plays to questionable ones surged. Media coverage began to shift. Pundits who once used him as a punchline hesitated, acknowledging that Denver's environment played a big role. Instead of forcing Westbrook to become a spot-up shooter, they tapped his instincts for tempo, slashing, and second-unit leadership. The system allowed him to revert to his best self, an athletic disruptor brimming with energy, now harnessed more efficiently.
Russell Westbrook. We know what Jokic and Jamal Murray and Porter and Aaron Gordon could do, but Russell Westbrook is going to do something for the Denver Nuggets. His competitive fervor, that's going to be a huge thing.
Suddenly, the question emerged: was the media wrong all along about Westbrook's fundamental ability to adapt? For years, mainstream coverage oscillated between glorifying Westbrook's stat lines and condemning his inefficiency. After the Lakers experiment turned sour, the media's stance veered strongly negative. Talk show hosts labeled him an albatross contract, positing that no contending team would want to incorporate his style. But as soon as Westbrook exhibited tangible synergy with Jokic, those same shows began highlighting his improved shot selection and praising his intangible leadership. It's a telling pattern. Results drive coverage more than method. Before Denver, Westbrook's reputation centered on clashing with star teammates and overshadowing them. Now, side by side with an MVP big man known for unselfish brilliance, Westbrook looks less like an on-court disruptor and more like a puzzle piece who adds speed and aggression. Once the team started winning, any mention of turnover rates or contested mid-range shots diminished significantly. ESPN panels that used to replay his bloopers pivoted to dissecting how his pace complements Jokic's calm, half-court approach. What changed in the media's eyes? Partly the shift came from seeing the same problems overshadowed by new positives. With the Lakers, every turnover Westbrook committed was a story about him hurting the legacy of LeBron's twilight years. In Denver, those turnovers might be overshadowed by him fueling a 12-2 runoff forced steals or fast breaks. The scoreboard, plus a less drama-driven environment, allowed analysts to reevaluate. Some even apologized for the Westbrick label, admitting it may have been an oversimplification. Additionally, the presence of Jokic, a revered figure among sports writers for his humility and team-first style, softened attitudes toward Westbrook. If Jokic, the ultimate basketball purist, endorses Westbrook, the logic goes he can't be as destructive as previously painted. Phrases like "Russ found his home" replace predictions about him playing out short deals overseas. Meanwhile, content creators on YouTube and social channels have produced highlight reels praising Westbrook's hustle or final quarter heroics, reversing the comedic narrative from LA days. It's easy to dismiss the talk of Westbrook's resurgence as anecdotal or intangible. However, a closer look at key numbers confirms his significance. First, consider the Nuggets' pace factor. Historically, Denver maintained a moderate tempo under Mike Malone, relying on Jokic's half-court wizardry. In the early part of the season, with Westbrook at the helm for transitional sequences, the team's pace rank jumped from the mid-20s to the top 5. By fueling quick outlets off rebounds, Westbrook allowed Denver to net 5 to 7 more fast break points per game than in prior years. Then there's the synergy with Jokic. Advanced tracking metrics reveal that Westbrook's shot attempts inside the paint often come off passes directly from Jokic. Westbrook converts these interior looks at a far higher clip than he did with other teammates in the past. Freed from the burden of manufacturing every drive on his own, he finishes at or above 60% near the rim, significantly above some of his stints in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, his usage rate hasn't soared. It's maintained a healthy balance that suits both him and the rest of the lineup. Defensively, the difference emerges in hustle stats. Westbrook consistently ranks among Denver's top in deflections per 36 minutes. His averages in steals hover around 1.5 to 2.0 per game, which might sound modest but underscores how effectively he's pressuring opposing ball handlers. The result, Denver's defensive rating with Westbrook on the floor improved compared to lineups missing that additional ball pressure component. Observers highlight how the pure threat of Westbrook's quickness disrupts lazy passes or slow perimeter sets, something the media once glossed over in favor of highlighting his occasional missed rotation. Turnovers remain a watch item. Westbrook will always flirt with high turnover counts given his style, yet Denver's environment mitigates the impact. Jokic's presence as a second playmaker means Westbrook doesn't handle the ball 80% of possessions. That balance naturally brings his turnover rate down. ESPN's on-off splits indicate that while Westbrook on the court might yield a few extra turnovers, it also yields a bigger net scoring boost due to transition points, forced mistakes on defense, and more dynamic fast break basketball. All eyes now turn to whether this reinvented Westbrook can stand firm when the stakes skyrocket. The regular season might forgive nights when shots don't fall or when a couple of reckless passes slip through. The playoffs, however, amplify every shortcoming. If teams start sagging off Westbrook to clog Jokic's passing lanes, can he remain disciplined? Historically, he might try to prove critics wrong by jacking up threes, only to feed into the defensive strategy. But under Denver's structure, with Jokic calmly orchestrating, there's hope that Westbrook will keep slashing and kicking rather than succumbing to a hero ball instinct. There's also the looming factor of Jamal Murray's health. Should Murray return fully, the rotation could relegate Westbrook to more bench minutes. A diminished role might test his morale, but if Westbrook is truly invested in the team's success, he could flourish as the leader of the second unit, punishing opponents when Jokic rests. That arrangement might prove lethal in a playoff setting, preventing the dreaded no Jokic, no offense sequences that once plagued Denver. If Westbrook continues thriving, his narrative might transform entirely. Instead of being remembered as a triple-double stat stuffer who never hoisted the Larry O'Brien trophy, he could become the ultimate redemption story. A deep playoff run or an NBA Finals appearance featuring valuable contributions from Westbrook would overshadow the negativity from his Laker days. Critics who used to hammer him might have to concede that in the right environment, Westbrook is a difference maker. Meanwhile, fans who stuck with him through the memes and media slander would witness one of the league's most polarizing athletes rewriting his own story. Beyond this season, contract considerations arise. Westbrook's on a short-term deal. If the synergy proves legitimate, does Denver commit to him long-term, or do they weigh their salary cap against his age? If the partnership is as fulfilling as these early games suggest, Westbrook may be open to finishing out his career in a stable role under Jokic's leadership. That alone would be a remarkable conclusion to a narrative once overshadowed by claims he couldn't mesh with star talent. Ultimately, the playoffs will decide how far this synergy can carry the Nuggets and whether Westbrook's redemption is etched into basketball lore. Russell Westbrook's new beginning in Denver stands as a testament to how drastically the media's storylines can swing. After years of being cast as an inefficient, outdated star, he's reinvented himself alongside Nikola Jokic, fueling the Nuggets with pace, hustle, and a renewed sense of purpose. Critics who once wrote him off have softened, acknowledging that the right fit can elevate any player's strengths. Thanks for watching, and let us know your thoughts down below. Also, make sure to check out our store for fresh designs and exclusive offers. We'll see you on the next one, shown on screen.